Balancing a game is hard, and Splatoon 1 is no exception. From invincibility specials to strats that consist of throwing yourself at the enemy over and over again, the meta was hilarious. One feature in this game was being tracked, which usually happened when an opponent had echolocator, a special frequently seen on 8 liters, dynamo roller, and a few other weapons in competitive. Aside from that, Haunt also applied this effect if you kill someone with the ability, and point sensors sort of existed. There wasn't much to counter this other than weight, or running cold-blooded, which decreased the tracking time by 50%. So an ability that helped to fight against a very common special. What happened to it? With the release of Splatoon 2 and the transition from one broken meta to another, Echolocator was removed from the game, and cold-blooded quickly disappeared from many players' builds. The main reason for this was that in Splatoon 1, cold-blooded was run because of echolocator, and because there is no echolocator, there is no need to run cold-blooded. There are also two smaller things I want to point out. In Splatoon 2, cold-blooded is a stackable ability, meaning you can run something like Ninja Squid and cold-blooded to become very sneaky, like the self-bomber in Serbia. However, you need 2 mains of cold-blooded to reduce the tracking duration by 50%, while in Splatoon 1, you only need 1 main to do the same thing. And finally, there wasn't really much else to use for it, because the things it countered now just don't exist, or really doesn't matter. In Splatoon 2, cold-blooded affects Thermal Ink, Haunt, and Stingray by increasing the minimum distance you have to be from those users before they can see you through the walls. However, Thermal Ink and Haunt were rarely used. In the case of Stingray, they usually track targets by looking at the map after dealing damage, something you can't do much about. Also, they were usually shooting you from their own spawn or somewhere a good distance away, so yeah, trying to counter it wasn't really worth it. The two sub-weapons that do track people were rarely used. Point sensor are usually unused, since call-outs exist and they struggle to force opponents to move because they don't do damage or paint. Inkmine can paint and do ship damage, but it doesn't help much with pushing since the enemies have to come to the mine rather than the mine going to them. Both are still usable in very niche comps, one example being the Squad Inkmine comp in a Japanese Splat Zones tourney, but generally you won't run into a comp that spams these subs frequently. So in December 2018, Nintendo released patch 4.3, which basically combined Bomb Defense and Cold-Blooded, creating a new ability called Bomb Defense DX that combined both of the effects into one ability. People still use this new ability, even in Splatoon 3. However, it was mainly for the benefits that were on Bomb Defense. So you may be wondering, what happens with the gear now? When this update first released, all the gear that you owned with Cold-Blooded would be replaced by this new ability, and all the gear with Cold-Blooded in the shop was replaced by another completely new ability called Main Power-Up, which led to problems. To sum it up, Cold-Blooded's use was directly associated with Echolocator, but since Echolocator no longer existed and the other things it countered basically didn't exist, it faded away before being removed. Or you could just summarize the story with these two messages.
What? I don't know what religion this is, but I will get that. Yeah.
I'm interested.
Oh wow.